I didn't realize the moment everything changed until way later, when it was already too late to pretend it was just friendship. At the time, it felt simple, easy, safe. That's probably why I didn't question it. It started the night Evan showed up at my door at 2 a.m., soaked from the rain and looking like he'd just walked out of a bad decision. I remember opening the door, half asleep, expecting maybe a drunk neighbor or a delivery mistake. Instead, there he was, hood pulled low, water dripping from his sleeves, breathing a little too fast. "Trevor," he said, like he'd been holding my name in his chest for hours. "Can I crash here tonight?" No explanation, no joke, just that. And yeah, I should have asked questions. But I didn't. "Yeah, man," I muttered, stepping aside. "Come in." That's the thing about Evan. He never needed to explain himself much. We'd known each other long enough that silence didn't feel awkward, it felt normal. Comfortable. We met 2 years ago in college, during some random group project neither of us cared about. He was the kind of guy who made friends without trying, confident without being loud, funny without forcing it. Meanwhile, I was not that. More reserved, more observant. Somehow we just clicked. At first it was casual coffee between classes, late-night gaming sessions, grabbing food when everything else was closed. But somewhere along the way, it turned into something deeper. Not in a dramatic way, just constant. He became part of my routine, and I guess I became part of his. That night, I handed him a towel and watched as he peeled off his soaked hoodie like it weighed 10 pounds. "Damn," I said, rubbing the back of my neck. "You walked here?" "Yeah. That's like 20 minutes. He shrugged, like it didn't matter. Needed the air. Something in his tone made me pause. It wasn't his usual laid-back vibe. There was tension there. Tight, controlled. "You good?" I asked. "Yeah," he said quickly. Too quickly. Then he forced a small smile. "Just needed to get out for a bit." I didn't push. I never did. Looking back, maybe that was mistake number 1. I grabbed him a dry t-shirt and some sweats, tossing them onto the couch. "Bathroom's free," I said. "You can shower if you want." "Thanks." He disappeared down the hallway, and I stood there for a second longer than necessary, listening to the sound of the shower turning on. There was something off. Not wrong exactly, just different. Evan wasn't the type to show up unannounced. Especially not like this. Especially not at 2 a.m. But again, I didn't question it, because having him there felt normal. Too normal. When he came back out, hair damp and wearing my clothes, I felt something shift. It was subtle, almost nothing, but still there. Maybe it was the way the shirt fit him slightly tighter across his shoulders than it did on me. Or the way he ran a hand through his wet hair, pushing it back in that careless way he always did. Or maybe it was just the fact that he was here, in my space, looking at me like he needed something he couldn't quite say. "You hungry?" I asked, breaking the silence. "Starving," he admitted. So we did what we always did. I threw together something quick, leftover pasta, nothing special, and we sat on the couch, eating straight from the plates, the TV playing something neither of us was really watching. Felt like every other night we'd spent together. That was the dangerous part. At some point, his knee brushed mine. Not unusual. The couch was small. It happened all the time. But this time, neither of us moved. I noticed it immediately. Of course I did. But I told myself it was nothing. Because it had always been nothing, right? I kept my eyes on the screen, pretending I didn't feel it. Pretending I didn't notice how still he'd gone. Then, after a few seconds, he shifted slightly but not away. Closer. Just enough that our legs were pressed together now. My chest tightened. Not panic. Not exactly. Just awareness. Too much awareness. "You can take the bed," I said suddenly, standing up before my brain could catch up. "I'll crash on the couch." Evan looked up at me, eyebrows pulling together slightly. "Don't be stupid," he said. "It's your place." "I don't care." "Trevor." There was something in the way he said my name again. Quieter this time. Heavier. "You always do this," he added. "Do what?" "Make things weird when they don't have to be." I frowned. "I'm not making anything weird." He held my gaze for a second longer than usual. Then he sighed, leaning back against the couch. Just sleep in the bed, he said. We've done it before. And yeah, we had. Plenty of times. After parties, movie nights, random late hangouts that turned into sleepovers because neither of us felt like going home. It was normal. It had always been normal. So why did it suddenly feel like a decision? Fine, I muttered. We cleaned up in silence, the kind that wasn't uncomfortable but wasn't completely easy either. Then we headed to my room. Same routine, same space, but something about it felt different, like the air had shifted just slightly out of place. I turned off the light, sliding into bed on my side, facing away from him. A second later, I felt the mattress dip as he climbed in behind me. Closer than usual. My body tensed automatically. Relax, he said quietly, almost like he noticed. I am relaxed. Doesn't feel like it. I didn't respond, because the truth was I wasn't. Not anymore. A few minutes passed, then 10. The room was silent except for the faint sound of rain still tapping against the window. I tried to sleep. I really did. But I couldn't ignore the heat behind me, or the fact that I could feel every small movement he made. Then, his arm shifted, lightly, carefully, until it rested against my side. Not fully around me, not exactly touching, just there, close enough that I could feel it. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just friendship anymore. Or maybe it had stopped being that a long time ago, and I was just the last one to realize. I should have said something. I should have moved. I should have done anything. But I didn't, because a part of me didn't want to. And that's the part that changed everything. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I kept my eyes closed, breathing slow, pretending, but my mind wouldn't shut up. Every little thing felt amplified the warmth of him behind me, the steady rhythm of his breathing, the barely there weight of his arm resting close enough to drive me insane. It wasn't even what he was doing. It was what he wasn't doing. He wasn't pulling away, and neither was I. At some point, I shifted just slightly, not even on purpose. My body just adjusted, but it brought me closer, close enough that I could feel his chest brush against my back. I froze. So did he. For a second, I thought maybe he'd move away, laugh it off in the morning, pretend it was just one of those accidental things. But instead, his arm moved, slowly, carefully, until it rested fully around my waist. Not tight, not forceful, just there, like he'd made a decision. My heart started pounding so hard I was convinced he could feel it. Evan? I muttered, my voice low, barely there. Yeah? He whispered. He sounded awake. Of course he was. I swallowed, trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to say. What was this? What were we doing? This is... I started, then stopped. Weird? Wrong? Something more? I know, he said quietly, cutting me off, and somehow that made it worse. Because he knew. Then why are you? Because you didn't move. His answer came fast. Too fast. Like he'd already thought about it. I exhaled slowly, staring into the darkness. That doesn't mean... I know what it means, Trevor. His voice wasn't defensive. It wasn't aggressive. It was calm, certain. And that's what made my chest tighten. Because I didn't. I turned slightly, just enough to glance back at him. Even in the dark, I could make out the shape of his face. His eyes already on me. Watching. Waiting. For what, I had no idea. How long? I asked before I could stop myself. He didn't pretend not to understand. Does it matter? Yeah, I said more firmly this time. It does. There was a pause. A long one. Then he exhaled, his grip around my waist loosening just a fraction but not leaving. Since before tonight, he admitted. That wasn't an answer. Evan, since you started pretending not to notice. My stomach dropped. I wasn't pretending, I said quickly. But even as the words left my mouth, they felt off. Because maybe I had been. All those moments, the lingering touches, the looks that lasted too long, the way things sometimes felt just a little too charged to be nothing, I'd brushed it all off. Told myself it didn't mean anything, because it was easier, safer. You're such a liar, Evan muttered, but there was no anger in it, just something softer, frustrated. Takes one to know one. That made him huff out a quiet breath. Almost a laugh. Almost. Silence settled between us again. But this time it wasn't the same. It was heavier, more honest, more dangerous, because now it wasn't unspoken anymore. Now we both knew. You could have said something, I finally said. So could you. That's not. What? He cut in, his voice sharper now. Not fair. I didn't answer. Because yeah, maybe it wasn't, but it was still true. His arm tightened slightly around me again, like he was grounding himself. Or maybe grounding me. I didn't want to mess things up, he said after a moment. Quieter now. You're important to me. The way he said it hit harder than anything else that night. Not dramatic. Not over the top. Just honest. And real. You think this doesn't mess things up? I asked. I think pretending it's not there does more damage. That shut me up. Because deep down, I knew he was right. I shifted again, turning a little more toward him this time. Not fully, but enough that we weren't pretending anymore. We were close. Face to face now. Too close for something that was supposed to be just friendship. You ever gonna let me go? I asked quietly. Evan didn't answer right away. Instead, his gaze dropped for a second, then came back to mine. Do you want me to? That question. It shouldn't have been that hard to answer. Should have been easy. Obvious. But it wasn't. Because the truth? I didn't know. Or maybe I did. And I just didn't want to admit it out loud. So I stayed quiet. And that was answer enough. His hand shifted slightly at my side, fingers brushing just enough to make my breath hitch. Not on purpose. Or maybe it was. I couldn't tell anymore. Everything felt blurred. Mixed signals. Half decisions. This is a bad idea, I said under my breath. Probably. And we're still doing it. Yeah. Neither of us moved. Neither of us pulled away. I don't know who leaned in first. Maybe it was both of us. Maybe it just happened. But 1 second we were talking. And the next, the space between us was gone. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't aggressive. It was hesitant, careful, like we were both waiting for the other to stop it, to pull back, to say this is too much. But neither of us did. And that's when it really hit me. This wasn't something new. It wasn't some random moment. This had been building for a long time. We'd just been too scared to cross the line. Until now. And once we did, there was no going back. I should have stopped it. I should have thought it through. I should have realized what this would change. But in that moment, none of that mattered. Because for the first time, felt honest. And that's exactly why it was so dangerous. The next morning felt wrong. Not in an obvious way. Nothing dramatic. No explosions, no shouting, no immediate regret. Just this quiet, heavy shift that sat in my chest the second I opened my eyes. For a moment, I didn't move. I just lay there, staring at the wall, trying to piece together what had actually happened the night before. And then I felt it. Evan's arm still around me. My body tensed instantly. Not because it felt bad, but because it felt familiar. Too familiar. Like it had always been this way, and we just never admitted it. He was still asleep. Or at least he looked like he was. His breathing was slow, steady. His face relaxed in a way I wasn't used to seeing this close. I swallowed, my eyes tracing over him for a second longer than I should have. Then I carefully shifted, trying to slide out of his grip without waking him. But of course. Leaving already? His voice was rough with sleep, low and quiet right behind me. I froze. Didn't want to wake you, I muttered. His arm tightened slightly for a second, then loosened, letting me go. I sat up, running a hand through my hair, trying to act normal. Like this was normal. Like last night didn't change anything. You sleep okay? I asked, immediately regretting how stupid that sounded. Evan let out a quiet breath behind me. Not really. Yeah, same. Silence. Thick. Unavoidable. I stood up, grabbing a shirt off the floor and pulling it on a little too quickly. "Coffee?" I asked, already halfway to the door. "Yeah," he said after a second. The kitchen felt safer, brighter, like if I stayed out here, I could pretend things hadn't shifted in a way I didn't fully understand yet. I focused on small things, filling the kettle, grabbing mugs, anything to keep my hands busy, anything to avoid thinking. Evan walked in a minute later. Same clothes as last night, hair a mess, looking like nothing had happened. And somehow, that made it worse. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching me, not saying anything, just watching. "You're staring," I said without looking at him. "You're avoiding." "I'm making coffee." "You're avoiding while making coffee." I exhaled, setting the kettle down a little harder than necessary. "Okay, what do you want me to say?" "I don't know," he shrugged. "Something real would be a start." I turned to face him then. Finally, "What do you want me to say, Evan?" I asked. "That it didn't mean anything?" I added, "Because I'm pretty sure that'd be a lie." He didn't flinch, didn't look away. "Good," he said simply. That caught me off guard. "Good." "Yeah," he nodded. "Because it didn't feel like nothing." My chest tightened again. There it was. That honesty. That directness I wasn't ready for. "So what?" I asked, leaning back against the counter. "We just what? Act like everything's different now." "It is different. That's the problem." "Or maybe it's not," he shot back. I frowned. "What does that even mean?" Evan pushed himself off the counter, stepping a little closer. "Maybe it's not different," he said. "Maybe it's just honest now." That hit harder than I expected, because I knew exactly what he meant. All those moments before, those looks, those touches, the tension we both ignored. They didn't start last night. They just stopped being ignored. "You're acting like this is simple," I said. "It is simple." "No, it's not," I snapped. "We were fine before." "Were we?" That shut me up again. Because no, we weren't. Not really. We were just good at pretending. Evan ran a hand through his hair, pacing once like he was trying to burn off energy. "I'm not saying we have to figure everything out right now," he said. "I'm just saying, don't act like it was a mistake." I hesitated, because that word, mistake, it had been sitting in the back of my mind since I woke up, and I hated that it was there. "I don't know what it was," I admitted. "But you don't think it was a mistake?" he pressed. I looked at him, really looked at him, and yeah, there was no way I could say that. Not honestly. "No," I said quietly. "I don't." Something in his expression shifted. Not relief exactly, but close. "Okay," he nodded. "Okay," I echoed. "Yeah, that's enough for now." The kettle started whistling behind me, breaking the moment. I turned quickly, grateful for the distraction, pouring the water into 2 mugs like it was the most important thing in the world. We didn't talk much after that. Not because there was nothing to say, but because there was too much, and neither of us knew where to start. He left an hour later. No dramatic goodbye, no awkward hug, just a quiet, "I'll text you." "Yeah." And then he was gone. I stood there for a long time after the door closed, just thinking, replaying everything, trying to make sense of it. I told myself we'd figure it out, that we'd talk, that it wouldn't change things too much. I was wrong, because later that day, something happened that made everything a lot more complicated. And suddenly, this wasn't just about me and Evan anymore. I should have known it wouldn't stay between us. That things don't just happen and then sit quietly like nothing changed. But I still wasn't ready for how fast it all started falling apart. It hit me around 5 p.m. I was lying on my bed, staring at my phone, rereading the same messages over and over like they might magically make more sense the 10th time. "Evan, you good?" Evan didn't make things weird, right? Evan, Trevor? I hadn't replied. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how. I wasn't good, but I also wasn't bad. I was somewhere in between, stuck in this weird space where everything felt too real to ignore and too confusing to accept. Then my phone buzzed again. Not Evan this time. Liam. And that's when my stomach dropped. Liam was, well, he was part of our group. Not just some random guy. He was close to both of us. Close enough that if something went wrong, it wouldn't stay private for long. Liam. Yo, you with Evan today? I stared at the message longer than I should have. My brain immediately jumping to the worst possible conclusions. Did Evan say something? Did he tell him? Was that even something he'd do? I typed. Deleted. Typed again. Me nah why? 3 dots appeared instantly. Then, Liam. He's been acting weird all day. My chest tightened. Liam. Did something happen last night? There it was. Not direct, but close enough. I sat up, running a hand through my hair, suddenly feeling way too exposed in my own room. Like somehow, everyone could already see it. See us. Me no? Just hung out. The lie felt weak the second I sent it. There was a pause this time. Longer. Then, Liam. You sure? I didn't answer. Because yeah, I wasn't sure. Not about anything anymore. A minute later, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Evan. Evan. Did Liam text you? I let out a slow breath. Of course. Of course he did. Me yeah. 3 dots. Gone. Back again. Evan. I didn't say anything. That shouldn't have mattered as much as it did. But it did. Me, I didn't either. Another pause. Then, Evan. So we're lying now? I clenched my jaw. Me. What do you want me to do? Announce it? The reply came faster this time. Evan, no. I just don't want to pretend like it didn't happen. I stood up, pacing my room now, frustration building in my chest. Because this was exactly what I was afraid of. Me, it's not that simple. Evan, it is if you stop overthinking it. I let out a dry laugh. Of course he'd say that. Me, you're acting like this doesn't affect anything. Evan, it doesn't have to. That was the problem. He believed that, or at least he wanted to. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. Liam. Liam. Bro, I'm coming over. My heart skipped. Me, why? Liam. Because something's off and you're both being weird as hell. Shit. I looked at Evan's chat, then back at Liam's. Everything suddenly felt like it was closing in. Too fast. Too messy. Me to Evan, Liam's coming here. The response was instant this time. Evan. I'm on my way. I froze. Me, Evan. Too late. Evan, we're not doing this separately. And just like that, whatever this was between us, it wasn't just ours anymore. I barely had time to process before there was a knock at the door. Sharp. Impatient. Trevor, open up. Liam. I closed my eyes for a second, exhaling slowly, then walked over and opened the door. He stepped in immediately, scanning my face like he was trying to read something I hadn't even said yet. Okay, he said, crossing his arms. What the hell is going on? Nothing, I replied automatically. Too fast. Too defensive. Liam raised an eyebrow. Yeah, I don't believe you. I ran a hand through my hair again, already feeling cornered. It's just been a long day. Aha, he nodded slowly. For both of you? Before I could answer, another knock. We both looked at the door, then at each other. Seriously, Liam muttered. I didn't say anything, just walked over and opened it. Evan stood there, same calm expression, same unreadable eyes, like this wasn't about to explode. Hey, he said, stepping inside like he belonged there. Liam let out a short laugh. Oh, perfect, he said. Now we can do this properly. My chest tightened, because yeah, there was no avoiding it now. Liam looked between us, then shook his head. All right, he said. One of you better start talking. Silence. I glanced at Evan. He glanced back. That same unspoken thing passing between us again. And then, he stepped forward. I kissed him. My heart dropped. Liam blinked. Once. Twice. You what? And just like that, everything changed. I kissed him. The words didn't even feel real when Evan said them. Like they didn't belong in the room. Like if I just stood there long enough, they'd disappear and we could go back to before last night, before this tension, before everything got complicated. Liam stared at him. then at me, then back at Evan. You what? He repeated, slower this time. Evan didn't hesitate, didn't take it back. I kissed Trevor. My chest tightened so hard it almost hurt, because now it was out there. Not just between us anymore. Not something we could quietly figure out on our own. Now it was real. Liam let out a short, disbelieving laugh, running a hand through his hair. Okay, he said, pacing once like he needed to burn it off. Okay, I'm gonna need a little more than that. I finally found my voice. It's not I started, then stopped. Because what was I even going to say? It's not what it looks like. That would have been a lie. It just happened. I finished weakly. Liam turned to me sharply. Stuff like that doesn't just happen, Trevor. Evan stepped in before I could respond. It kinda does when you ignore it long enough. That shut Liam up for a second. But only for a second. Wait, he said, pointing between us. Ignore what exactly? Silence. Again. Heavy. Unavoidable. I could feel Liam's eyes on me now. Waiting. Pushing. I exhaled slowly. This tension, I admitted. It's been there. Liam blinked, then scoffed. You're telling me you two have been, what? Into each other this whole time? No, I said quickly. Evan didn't. Liam noticed that immediately. Evan? He pressed. Evan didn't look away. Yeah, he said simply. That hit harder than I expected. Not because I didn't suspect it, but because he said it so easily, like he wasn't afraid of it. Liam let out another laugh, louder this time. Are you serious right now? Yeah. And you just decided to act on it last night? Evan glanced at me for half a second, then back at Liam. Something like that. Liam shook his head, pacing again. This is insane, he muttered. You guys are. He stopped himself. Are what? Evan asked. Liam hesitated, then sighed. Best friends. That word landed weirdly in my chest. Because yeah, that's what we were. At least that's what we said we were. And, Evan pushed. And you don't just risk that over this? Liam said, gesturing vaguely between us. I finally stepped in. It's not that simple. Then explain it to me. Liam shot back. Because from where I'm standing, you two just blew up something solid for no reason. No reason. Evan repeated, his tone sharpening for the first time. Yeah, Liam said. Unless you're about to tell me this is more than just a one-time thing. Silence. I felt it before I even looked at Evan. That shift. That weight. Is it? Liam pressed. I turned to Evan. He was already looking at me, waiting, and that's when I realized. This wasn't just about last night anymore. This was about what came after. I don't know, I admitted. Wrong answer. I could see it immediately in Evan's expression. Not anger. Not exactly. Just disappointment. You don't know? Liam repeated. Like that confirmed everything for him. I said I don't know. I snapped, more defensive than I meant to be. Which means you're not even sure it's worth it, Liam said. That's not what I said. But it's what you meant. No. Evan cut in, his voice calm but firm. It's what you think he meant. Liam turned to him. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to explain it then? Evan didn't hesitate. He's scared. That hit harder than anything Liam said. I'm not, I started. Yeah, you are, Evan said, not even raising his voice. And I get it. This changes things. But don't act like it didn't mean anything just because you're freaking out. I never said it didn't mean anything. I shot back. Then stop acting like it was a mistake. There it was again. That word. I'm not acting like that, I said. Evan just looked at me. And that look said everything. Liam exhaled loudly, stepping back. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, he said. This is way more serious than I thought. No one argued with that. Look, he continued, calmer now. I'm not saying you guys can't, whatever this is, but you need to figure it out. Fast. Because if this goes sideways, it's not just you two it affects. I frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means we all hang out together, Liam said. Same group, same plans. Same everything. He paused. And this? He added, nodding between us. This changes the dynamic whether you like it or not. He wasn't wrong. That's what made it worse. I'm not trying to be a jerk, Liam said, softer now. I just don't want to watch this crash and burn. Neither did I. But looking at Evan, I had a feeling we were already past the point where it could just go back to normal. Liam checked his phone, then sighed. I'm gonna give you guys space, he said. But seriously, figure it out. Then he walked out. Just like that, the door closed, and suddenly it was quiet again. Just me and Evan. Same as last night, but nothing felt the same anymore. I rubbed my face, exhaling slowly. Well, that went great. Evan didn't laugh, didn't say anything right away. When I looked at him, he was already watching me. That same look again. Waiting. So? He asked. So what? What now, Trevor? That question felt heavier than anything else that day. Because this time, there was no avoiding it. No pretending. No brushing it off. Now I actually had to decide. And the truth? I wasn't ready for that. What now, Trevor? I hated that question. Not because it was unfair, but because I didn't have a clean answer and Evan knew it. I let out a slow breath, leaning back against the wall like it could hold me together. I don't know, I admitted again. Evan looked away this time. Not dramatic, not angry, just tired. Yeah, he muttered. I figured. That stung more than if he'd yelled. Don't do that, I said. Do what? Act like I'm just brushing this off. He let out a quiet laugh, but there was nothing amused about it. Then what are you doing? I opened my mouth, closed it again, because I didn't have a good answer. I'm trying to figure it out, I said finally. Evan nodded slowly. But you're doing it alone. That hit harder than I expected. I'm right here, he added, looking back at me. And you're still acting like this is just your problem to solve. It kind of is, I shot back. This isn't just about you. And it's not just about you either. We stared at each other. Same stubborn energy. Same refusal to back down. That's exactly the problem, I said. Everything was fine before. No, it wasn't, he said immediately. It was easier. Yeah, he nodded. Because we were lying to ourselves. I clenched my jaw. Not everything has to be this intense, Evan. Maybe not, he said. But this does. Silence. Again. I pushed off the wall, pacing now. I need a second, okay? I said. Everything happened too fast. And what? He asked. You think taking a step back is gonna magically make it go away? No, I snapped. I think it might help me think straight. Evan watched me carefully, like he was trying to decide if I meant that, or if I was just running. And where does that leave me? He asked quietly. That question, that one was harder. I'm not asking you to disappear, I said. But you're not asking me to stay either. I hesitated. Too long. Evan exhaled, looking down for a second before shaking his head. Yeah, he said under his breath. That's what I thought. Evan, it's fine, he cut in. I get it. No, you don't. I do, he said, sharper now. You want space. You want time. You want to pretend you can go back to how things were while you figure it out. That's not what I said. But it's what you're doing. I didn't respond, because again, he wasn't wrong. That's not fair, I muttered. What's not fair, he said, stepping closer now, is acting like last night didn't change anything when it clearly did. I know that. Then act like it. The words hit harder than I expected, echoing in the room for a second too long. I ran a hand through my hair again, frustrated. I just need to breathe, okay? I said. Why is that such a problem? Because I don't think you're gonna come back from it. That stopped me. What? If you take a step back, he said, quieter now, I think you're gonna keep stepping back. That's not true. You don't know that. I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time since this started, I saw it clearly. He wasn't just frustrated. He was scared. Not of me, not of what we did, but of losing it, losing me. I'm not trying to run, I said, softer now. Then stop acting like you are. I just don't want to screw this up. Evan let out a quiet breath. You already did. My chest tightened. Not because of last night, he added quickly, but because you're acting like it's something to regret. I don't regret it, I said immediately. Then prove it. That hit me straight in the chest. How? I asked. Evan didn't hesitate. Stop treating me like a mistake. Silence. Because yeah, that's exactly what I'd been doing. Not intentionally, but still. I swallowed, my throat dry. That's not what you are, I said. Then what am I? The question hung between us. Heavy. Unavoidable. I opened my mouth. Closed it again. Because the truth? I didn't have a simple answer. And he deserved one. I don't know yet, I said quietly. Wrong answer. Again. I saw it immediately in his expression. That same shift. That same disappointment. Yeah, he nodded slowly. You keep saying that. I'm being honest. I know, he said. That's the problem. That stung. Evan stepped back then. Not far, but enough. I think I need some space too, he said. That caught me off guard. What? You're not the only one trying to figure this out, he added. Something about that didn't sit right. So that's it? I asked. We just pause everything? Evan looked at me for a long second, then shrugged slightly. I don't know, he said. Hearing that from him, after everything, felt worse. Right? I muttered. He nodded once, then turned toward the door. Evan. He stopped, but didn't turn around. I meant what I said. I added. It wasn't a mistake. A pause. Then quietly. I know. And then he left. This time it didn't feel temporary. It didn't feel like, I'll text you. Felt like something had cracked. Not broken completely, but not whole anymore either. And the worst part? I didn't know if I'd just pushed him away, or if I'd already lost him. I didn't hear from Evan for 3 days. Not a single message. No, you good. No memes, no random late night, you up? Texts like he used to send. Just nothing. At first, I told myself it was fine. That this was what I wanted, right? Space. Time. A chance to think without pressure. Turns out, silence is a lot louder when you're not used to it. By day 2, it started getting to me. Everything reminded me of him. The stupid coffee shop we always went to. The game we never finished. Even my couch felt off. Like it was missing something. Or someone. I caught myself opening our chat more times than I want to admit. Scrolling up. Reading old messages. Looking for something, anything that would make this feel less final. Didn't. By day 3, I couldn't take it anymore. I found myself standing outside his place at like 9 p.m., staring at his door like an idiot. I didn't plan it. Didn't think it through. I just ended up there. My hand hovered over the door for a second. Then I knocked. Nothing. I knocked again. Harder this time. Footsteps. Then the door opened. Evan stood there. Same as always. But not. He looked tired. Not physically. Just drained. Hey, I said. Smooth. Real smooth. He blinked at me, clearly not expecting it. Hey. Silence. Can I come in? I asked. He hesitated. Just for a second. Then stepped aside. Yeah. The apartment felt the same. But the vibe? Completely different. I stood there awkwardly, hands in my pockets, suddenly unsure why I even came. Evan leaned against the wall, watching me. You good? He asked. I let out a quiet laugh. Not really. That seemed to catch him off guard. Yeah? He said. Yeah. Another pause. I thought I wanted space, I admitted. Turns out, I just didn't want to deal with it. Evan didn't interrupt. Didn't push. Just listened. I kept telling myself I needed time to figure things out. I continued. But all I really did was push you away. His jaw tightened slightly, but he stayed quiet. I don't want that, I said. Then what do you want? There it was again. That question. But this time, I actually had an answer. I want you, I said. The words felt heavy, real, unavoidable. Evan froze. I don't know exactly what this is yet, I added quickly. And yeah, that scares the hell out of me. But losing you, I shook my head. That scares me more. Silence. For a second, I thought maybe I was too late. Maybe those 3 days were enough. Maybe I'd already pushed him too far. Then, he stepped closer. You're serious? He asked quietly. Yeah. You're not just saying that because you hate being alone? I huffed out a small breath. I hate a lot of things, I admitted. But this, I looked at him. This isn't one of them. He searched my face like he was trying to catch a lie. There wasn't one. You're still scared, he said. Yeah, I nodded. I probably will be for a while. That doesn't just go away. I know. Another pause. But I'm not running this time, I added. That seemed to land. Evan exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding something in for days. You're really bad at this, you know that? He muttered. I smirked slightly. Yeah, I've been told. He shook his head, stepping even closer now. 3 days, Trevor. I know. I thought you were done. I wasn't. You didn't text. I didn't know what to say. He studied me for another second. Then, say something now. So I did. I'm here, I said. I'm not going anywhere. That was it. Simple, but real. Evan stared at me for a long second. Then finally, he nodded. Okay, he said quietly, and this time, it actually felt like a beginning. Not something we were falling into blindly. Not something we were avoiding. Something we were choosing. Together, I stepped closer, closing the gap between us. Not rushed, not unsure, different from the first time, better. And yet, I still didn't know exactly what we were. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid of figuring it out.